you got two kinds of people. You got people that go by the script. Then also on the other end, you have people that go by experience. People that go by the script, they just live life how they've been taught. They've had a certain upbringing. They've been raised in a certain environment. They've been raised, through their religion, raised by their parents, by the society, by their neighborhood, to act a certain way, to think a certain way, and see the world a certain way. And then on the other end, you have people that go by their experience. They just experienced a lot of stuff in their life, and a lot of times that the people that go by experience, they weren't really sheltered when they were young, so they're pretty much pushed out there into the world to fend for themselves. So they didn't really have like anybody out there to guide them through life. So they pretty much had to learn things the hard way. And through that process, they've been through hell. Say they've been through fights, losing their job, somebody breaking into their car or what have you. All illnesses, friends die. All kind of stuff, man. Just life. How life is, man. Shit happens in life. They've been through all kind of stuff, and they didn't really have anybody out there to bail them out of certain things. So they're kind of rough around the edges. You know what I'm saying? So when they see bullshit, they can recognize it, from a mile away, and it kind of comes down to I made a video like a couple months ago about I forgot the name of it, but this was maybe like a year and a half ago, about a year. But I would say maybe not that long, but then I made that video. It was called "Rough Around the Edges." Hard work builds character. In that video, I was pretty much explaining that, in my personal experience, the best people I've ever met were people who had it rough. And people who had it rough, who will beat the odds, and they're able to get their life together. Those are like the best people, in my opinion, the best people that I've met. You know, compared to people who've been sheltered. Cause people who've been sheltered, I mean, they can be like their 30s, and still naive about the world, and they still act oblivious. And that's one of my personal rules of life. And one of my personal rules I go by is that being oblivious is a sin. That's one of my rules. The reason why obliviousness is a sin, because you should know good and well in this society we're exposed to all kind of media. I mean, come on, man. Life is rough. There's we live in a society where there's crime, there's poverty, all kind of stuff. So there's no excuse. If you watch the news, grew up watching the news, grew up watching HBO Cinemax, if you grew up listening to rap music, where they talk about drugs selling and bitches and hoes, there's no excuse to being a grown person, being overwhelmed by the world. You should be exposed to it. You should expect that, so you can't be this squeaky clean, this nerdy, clean cut, conservative person thinking that everything should be lolly lolly, like la la land, like, all the time, especially when you're at a certain age. You should expect that, life's not fair by a certain time, what I'm saying? But you still got like a lot of adults still acting oblivious and naive, up to their 20s and 30s for some weird reason. I don't know why. But that's why I say being oblivious is a sin, because there's no excuse. But for some weird reason, you have like you still got people in society thinking that a good person to somebody, quote unquote, good person to somebody who's like, how can I say this? Ever watch that TV? Remember that on The Simpsons, the cartoon The Simpsons? Remember when Homer Simpson had that neighbor, Ned, I think his name was like Ned Flanders. Flanders, I forgot his first name, but Flanders, he was like a very Christian guy. He was like very, very stiff, very conservative, very uptight, very religious guy, and he was just. I mean, he wasn't not a bad guy. Hell, he wasn't a bad guy at all. But he was kind of like him and his family were so religious that Ned Flanders, he was just so oblivious to certain things. He just walking around like he's walking on the cloud. you know, what I'm saying. He just like naive to like the reality of the world. And it's kind of like you still got people, especially like religious people. They just go by this very narrow view of the world. They go by certain narrow rules of laws and you know social norms and you can't talk a certain way. You can't do this. You can't listen to this kind of music. You can't eat that. You can't wear this. You can't watch this TV show. Well, what I'm saying. It's kind of like this very narrow, dogmatic view of the world. And everything. And I think a lot of people they think a good person. That's the perfect example of a good person. And don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with having standards. You can have standards. You can be a conservative person with standards. Nothing wrong with that. But I just don't. But I just think this. In my personal experience, I've seen like religious people who are. I mean, they're good people, man, but they just act naive, oblivious to the world, and they in simple things are this is like overwhelming to them. Because I remember years ago I dated this Christian chick. She was like very. I mean, she was sweet. What I'm saying? She was a sweet woman, what I'm saying? But she was like very, very Christian, very, very church. And one time picked her up. We were about to go on a date, go out to eat. And then I picked her up in my car and everything. And while we were driving to where we were going, where were we? I think we were going to like I forgot I forgot what restaurant we were going. But while we were driving, I I put in like a CD. It was like a rap CD, like an old school hip hop. You know, I mean nothing vulgar. You know what I'm saying? It was just like one of my, just like a hip hop rap CD, whatever. Like old, maybe like some '90s hip hop, whatever. And she got paranoid. She got paranoid as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's this? What's this? This is terrible. It's music. It's the devil's music. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is not even gangster rap. This is like laid back plain hip hop. She just got overwhelmed. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, come on, man. You know, I mean, the music didn't have no profanity in it. It wasn't no gangster rap. It was just like the most laid back hip hop music. You know what I'm saying? But it was like it was too overwhelming because she's like one of those kind of black women. Dude, the only thing they do is like listen to gospel music all the time. Like they're very religious. That kind of woman. So, and I'm like, I'm like, I mean, just simple stuff is just too overwhelming. And it's like where I am in life right now. So take it up to present time. It's kind of like I've been through all kind of stuff. I've been to the military. So I've been involved with different groups of people. What I'm saying? I've known drug dealers. I've known people in gangs. Um, I've been around the pro blacks. I've been around uh, you know, people who are into like the whole spirituality Wiccan hippie thing, deal with crystals and pentagrams and all that kind of stuff. So I've been through all kind of different social circles. And then, but now I'm kind of like I'm at the age now, I just want to like, settle down and, what I'm saying? But it's kind of like, As for me, I don't really fit to any social category because it's kind of like I'm trying to hang around with like the Christian types. You know what I'm saying? Like what I'm doing it right now, but it's kind of like outwardly I look like a regular Christian person or a regular person, but it's kind of like when it comes down to my personal experiences, my hobbies, my tastes, my interests, it's like very way out there. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of hard because reason why I'm recording this because like a couple of days ago I went to this church function. And then, I was it was like a Thanksgiving dinner thing. You know what I'm saying? I was over there just socializing, and then while I was in line getting the food, there was this decent chick. You know, she was like very decent woman. She was very assertive, not overbearingly assertive, but it's kind of rare to like meet a woman who's decent, who's just upfront with you. She shook my hand and asked me my name, all this kind of stuff. She was like very she knew how to communicate very effectively. She wasn't afraid to conversate and everything. And we just started talking and stuff like that. And she said she was a school teacher and she's new to the city. And I guess she's new to the church or whatever and everything. And she was real cool. I would say she wasn't really like hot, like super attractive. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10. To be honest, I probably give it like a 5, like a 5, 5.05 or 5.5. But the way she carried herself kind of like trumped all that. It kind of like brought up her points because she was like very intelligent. She knew how to conversate. You know what I'm saying? She asked me a lot of questions about my background. She revealed a lot of stuff about her stuff, and she was like very confident and everything. And the only regret is that I didn't give her my number. After that, you know what I'm saying? But I might see her again. I'm sure gonna see her again very soon. When it goes to like the next church thing. But you know what I'm saying? But I was just thinking that she might, if she's like a very Christian lady, but if I date her, if we go out on a date, she gonna find out I'm into all this kind of crazy, crazy stuff, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, she don't know my background, so what I'm into, what kind of music I like, what kind of books I read, where I've been, what I've experienced. She probably think I'm just this mild mannered Ned Flanders type of person, since I went to a church event, and stuff like that. But if there comes a time very soon, if I like see her again, if we exchange numbers, whatever, I'll find out. I'll try to pick her mind a bit. See how we vibe, whatever. But it's kind of like I'm sure she's trying to look for like a decent guy. Maybe like husband material, whatever. And she was nice, and she was like very nice because it's like we were in line getting the food. We were like getting the plate. The plate she picked up, she gave to me, and then she picked up her plate. So that was like very generous. It's very rare to meet like a woman, especially like a woman who had just met, who's just like super nice like that. You know what I'm saying? Who's that courteous, But I'm thinking, man, she probably don't know how radical I am, you know what I'm saying? But it goes back to why I made this, why I'm recording this, because the best people are not plain. You're never, and especially in this modern time, this modern society that we live in, with all the information, with all the technology we live in. I mean, with all the technology that we have available, with social media, internet, free information. We're exposed to all kind of media and all this kind of stuff. In this day and time, especially if you're dealing with like young people who are like Gen X or millennials, you'll never be like a good quality person who's just plain and regular. You know, the best upright people in this society are multidimensional. The best upright people in this century will be people who've been through hell and overcame. You know, the best people are the ones who are unorthodox. You know, I mean, they're still good moral people, but they won't be one dimensional. They'll be multidimensional. You know, and that's and that's one of the things I always harp on in some of the other recordings is that, you know, good people are multidimensional. You know, the best people would be multidimensional. You know, and I would say that people who are oblivious, people who are naive and simple, no matter how good they are, that's a red flag. And the reason why I say it's a red flag is because like I said, I can't think like a woman. I've never been a woman. I don't know the thought process of a woman, but I'm trying to be hypothetical, you know, as I can. You know, if I had a daughter, or if I was like, you know, imagine that was like alternate reality. If I was a woman looking for a man or whatever, I don't know. But I'm just saying that, you know, if somebody encounters a man who's naive, who doesn't know shit, who's just oblivious to shit, never been through shit, dumb as hell, you know what I'm saying, don't know anything about culture, don't know nothing about music, don't never watch The Godfather, you know, never watched a Western movie, you know, never played sports, doesn't know how to shoot a gun, doesn't own a gun, somebody who never doesn't know how to play an instrument, if you don't know who, if you don't know like certain things about music, you know, if you don't know who Pink Floyd is, if you don't know who Miles Davis is, if you don't know who, what I'm saying, if you don't know who Louis Armstrong, I'm just talking about if you just like a plain person who's just one dimensional, who don't know shit, never been through shit, don't know, never read a book. You know what I'm saying? If you're just like a plain one-dimensional person, that's a red flag. And a person like that is not useful, you know what I'm saying? Because if there's a situation where shit hits the fan, that kind of person would be useless. You know, so you got, if you looking for somebody who's good quality, best quality people who have experience under their belt, you know. And that's a thing that a lot of people don't realize, because they look for Ned Flanders, you know what I'm saying, because they think that kind of person's safe. But if there's like something pop off, you know, if there's like a civil war, and Ned Flanders be the first one to get shot, you know. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but I just want to get that rant off my chest, and everyone like add something to that, you know, in the comments below. Just let me know, and peace out.